Hey everybody, Edo here, and for this week's League video, I actually went to the internet, the Tabletop Games Kickstarter forum on Facebook, and was asking folks what are some topics they'd like to talk about or hear about, and one that came up in the thread was around Kickstarter videos. And in particular, it was lamenting that Kickstarter video, I don't have any money, that's why I'm doing a Kickstarter, and it's already hard enough to get a prototype. I don't have, how can I spend all this money on this really big, fancy schmancy video, and everyone expects it, and people aren't gonna back unless you have a cool video, and woe is me. And I think there's some truth to it. I don't mean to say it in that regards, but it was just basically how are you able, I don't want to spend $1,000 on a Kickstarter video, and there are people who absolutely spend $1,000. There's people who probably spend $5,000 on Kickstarter videos when, again, I'm small-time indie type guy or gal. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, and it's something that I've had to sort of struggle with and consider over the years as I've done a lot of Kickstarters. If you're not familiar with me, Pencil First Games, all these games were via Kickstarter. And I've done a few others. I think I've done 12 Kickstarters at this point, whatever the number is. And over the years, with the 100 Touring, my most recent one, I remember I was the closest to saying, what would happen if I just didn't do it? What would happen if I just put the image there and just didn't do a video? Would it not work? What would happen? And I was so close. I was so close. Also because I didn't have one at the time. I was like, I don't want to do it. But I was so close to doing that, and I don't really regret not doing it, but I was thinking about not doing it. And, along those lines, when you think about, I'm going to have to spend $500, $1,000, $2,000, whatever it ends up being, you're like, the Kickstarter has to be so much more successful to accommodate that. And certainly, without a doubt, good videos can help you be successful. I think that's true. But at the same time, it's really hard to gauge how much you should spend. So one of the things I wanted to emphasize in this video was I do think over the years that there are alternatives and ways to do this that are cheaper, that don't have to cost thousands of dollars. They'll have to cost your time, but don't have to cost thousands of dollars. So, and I'll use examples that I've done over the years. So I certainly feel, and there are people who disagree with me, but I feel it is still absolutely reasonable and rational if you are a first-time Kickstarter creator to do the hey, my name's Ed, I have this game dream, please help me. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it does the job, I think it's authentic, and I do think people respond to it. Maybe not in a $100,000 Kickstarter campaign, but you shouldn't be shooting for $100,000 if it's your first campaign. You should just be looking to fund your little board game. So if you are going to make that kind of video, my original videos were shot on my phone. You just need to have some sort of stand. I think I made one, but a good phone stand that will give you a static shot is probably $15, $20 on Amazon, maybe a mic, $15, $20. For a $50 investment, if you have a phone, you can just get way better filming. And then thinking about basic things like lighting and composition and a few things to make you look good on camera, I think helps. But be in a nice space, have the game in front of you, have a poster of the game behind you, and give a short, authentic message about the product, I think makes sense. You don't have to make it long either. I think if you focus on key messaging and try to keep it to 60 seconds, you're not overstaying your welcome. You're like, hey, my name's this, here's my game, it's cool because, and find out more below. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for looking. I think that is a reasonable thing to do. Helps if you're more photogenic. Helps if you know how to compose sentences and be clear and concise. Some people are not that great on camera, but it works. For Liftoff, my first one, it's effectively what I did. However, I did something else, which I did by myself. I got a little help. It's not entirely true, but I didn't pay for. But boy, it was a huge effort, which is I did a stop motion Alien Eagle sequence on the game board with everything that was going on. downloaded a free or $5 stop motion app on my iPhone, and I went for it, and it took me a long time, but I had this somewhat unique, interesting stop motion. And that sort of takes me to the next part is there is room for having fun. Not everything has to be super slick. It can be creative and fun, though you have to have the capacity to do that, right? If you're just sort of more of the board game design, you know, like if it's not like, if that's not your wheelhouse, it's not your wheelhouse. But baseline, introduce yourself, explain the game, be authentic. I think you can do that. I think other things from there, showing the game, showing the components. Another really easy thing you can do, which is hyper valuable, and I started doing it more and more in other Kickstarters, was go to conventions and demo the game and then just use that same stand you have and film people playing. Or have 4 people and use your phone and just take photos and film from different angles, get their permission, and let them know that you might use it in the Kickstarter video. But like, the version of the video is like, hey, I've got this great game X, and then cut to people playing it and having fun, works. Conventions are authentic. You don't need, albeit it's cool, it's great, that like soft glow, buzz, hipster, like video of everyone playing and everyone looks cool and they're all like, not actors, but everyone's like, you know, you can do that, but you don't need it. I'm just trying to say there are alternatives that aren't as expensive, that are still effective, not as effective, but effective. For some of my later games like Tori and Sunset Over Water, what I ended up doing was my wife and some of her friends came over, and I just invited them over and offered them some some drinks and free food, and they just came and we played, and it had me the opportunity to walk around and take photos and just watch them playing. It doesn't even have to be at a convention. It doesn't have to be outside of your home. I do think there are a lot of creative little things you can do. For Sunset Over Water, when Beth Sobel was doing, at the time Beth Sobel was working on the project, she had also posted a little like watch me draw videos. And I saw that and I said, wouldn't it be cool if while she was doing the cover, which is going to be in Sunset Over Water, the cover of that is like, if you're not familiar with it, this is going to be exciting. If you're not familiar with it, the cover is just an awesome painting, right? And so I said, you know, can you just record yourself doing that? And she said, sure. And so what we ended up doing was, or was it a card? It was either, it might have been one cover and a card, but whatever. She recorded herself doing it, and all I did was I like spent some time editing it and speeding it up, and then I just put, like, I think I put natural sound effects like wind and water over it, and you just watched her painting for 30 seconds, and then I did the like, hey, my name's Ed, this cool game, we made some other games together, and then I think I had pictures of some people playing it. I don't even remember exactly. But there's opportunity to do creative things. Stop motion's an option. Filming your artist drawing is an option. One of the things I started doing is, well, so for Gem Pack Cards, I had an artist who's comfortable with doing sort of motion graphics, and she sort of did how to play with the characters moving around and the pieces moving around, which was useful. But other options that I've started using more are, I go to Shutterstock, and I'll for, which games is it? For Herbaceous Sprouts and the 100 Tori, I went online. Like for Herbaceous Sprouts, I knew I wanted to show off like some gardening stuff. So I got like a picture of somebody like digging a hole, putting a plant in, a plant growing, and I just sort of like bought 4 clips, spliced them together, and that was my intro. And then it goes to me saying hello, and then it has, I think, my wife and folks playing on Herbaceous Sprouts, and that was that. For Tori, it was very similar. This is based on Japan. I went to Shutterstock, found 4K, or you don't need 4K, it's more expensive, like HD video of just gardens, like literally the topic and subject matter of the game, and just spliced in some of those videos, and that is because I'm comfortable editing. But iMovie or some of these programs are pretty darn simple in terms of like make the click shorter or longer. And then, you know, we had that at the front, and then straight into my wife and folks playing. So that worked fine. Couple pieces. One, not on all of them, but I started using a voice actress who I had known, but who, basically was willing to do 60 seconds, 45 seconds of audio for me, and she's got a good voice, and she knows what she's doing. I ended up for Skull Hollow also doing it, but it was a guy, and I couldn't use Andrea again, so I went to Fiverr. So Fiverr has a pretty robust voice acting community, but it's not $5, right? I gotta understand that site anymore. But basically, there are people who have all their samples you can go on, and they'll do reasonably priced gigs based on the content and based on the usage. But it depends on how much you want. But it's not $5, whether it's 50 or $100 or something, maybe something of that grade. It depends on the quality of the person. But pro tip. Shorter videos are better. Keep your video, a video that's under a minute is better. You'll get better completion rate. Your message will be crisper. And the shorter your video, the cheaper it is. The easier it is. Everything is better with a shorter video. Focus on a minute. Script out a minute. Have your key points. That'll help you a lot. The video will be shorter. The cost will be down. Everything will be better. So Liftoff was, as I said, the sort of stop motion animation followed by me. These aren't necessarily in order. Legendary Creatures was a little different. Ben Schulman, the graphic designer, we had such incredible arts, did a little bit of the monster background. And this is all with 2D assets. Maybe a little bit of that thing where they make the assets bend a little bit. But that was a graphic designer getting involved and doing some motion graphics. And that also showed some sequence of the board game and cost money. But that's still, if you're just using the game assets, you're just it's more reasonable. Heroes Welcome. I think Heroes Welcome, that was Mark as a first-time creator and I was a contributor on the project, but that video I think was just me and Mark saying, hey, there's this game. It was Mark's dream. It's pretty straightforward. I get the Skull Hollow last. Heroes Welcome, super simple, probably a little motion graphics. Again, Sprouts is the video clips. Tori was the video clips. Herbaceous might have just been me, or I think I just was doing close. Oh, it's another thing you can do. You can set up the game and just do zoom in on the logo, close up of the cards, display of the cards, just have some what's called B-roll that you have the voiceover or you talking over, so it's not just you. So cheap +1 is your video of you talking, but while you're just talking at the camera, you splice in nice cuts of your prototype or whatever. Gempact has a little motion graphics. Siblings Trouble. Feel like that one was me and looking at the box. Back then, I was just focusing on the components. Sunset Over the Water was the painting. Skull Hollow. So I would say Legendary Creatures had more motion graphics. Skull Hollow was still on the cheaper side, but a full video. It had the character-based motion graphics, it had animations, and then it had a 3D sequence using the modeling and the board and the monsters. The Skull Hollow one is in fact the biggest one I've done, and it should be noticed that was my most successful campaign, but the game also was well suited to it. So again, the long and the short here is a Kickstarter video absolutely necessary? It's pretty necessary. One day I'll be tempted not to have one, and I'll actually do it, but I really believe you can have a great splash and then a pretty straightforward, simple video, and you're actually okay. Just don't make it long. And then, so that's one. Two, hi, my name is, here's my game, here's why it's awesome, thank you so much. Then trying alternative but interesting things, stop motion, actual photography, close-ups of the game, just to make it a little more interesting. Think about VO. You can do the VO, but other people can. You can get a little bit of personality out of that. You can, reasonably priced if you keep it short. Then also looking at just footage of people playing, which can be done pretty easily at conventions or at your house or otherwise. Get your permissions. And then looking at more of the motion graphics and video stuff and like more of that high cost approach. But like, it's a conundrum, but it's solvable. I don't think it's any, I wouldn't get too worked up about it. I think just thinking about ways to be effective with the resources you have is super great. And I think there's absolutely opportunities to be silly. There's absolutely opportunities to be funny and like off the norm. When it comes to videos, there's some opportunity for them to be shared and used in other places. But it's really, there's only been a few, like Tiny Epic did the video for their zombie game, right? Which, like, I don't know, that was not a cheap video, right? Like, that was a professional 3D animated, like, they spent some money on that thing. But it's like the meeples and they're fighting zombies and like if you haven't, it was like Tiny Epic Zombies or whatever the name of that game was. If you haven't seen it, it's like crazy. Like zombie movie with meeples attacking, driving up in a car, shooting a shotgun like that. And when they dropped that, that was like, have you seen this video? You got to see that video. So I think they got a lot of lift out of the video. And obviously their campaigns do $500,000 or more. So there's some room to spend $5,000 on a video. But I think if you're asking about videos, you're not getting $500,000 campaigns. You're like, my campaign's my goal is 15 and I'll be happy if I got 25. So like, I don't understand how I could ever spend 5. And you're right, you shouldn't. Just be creative, be straightforward, don't make it too long, and I think you'll be okay. All right? Good luck. Hey everybody, Edo here, and thanks for watching Gaming with Edo. Reviews over here on this playlist, League and Insider videos over here on this one. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But most importantly, play some great games. Thanks. Bye.